This is CBC Vancouver News.
We've had to deliver some very sad, unfortunate, and tragic news today.
A Surrey community struck by tragedy after a child is killed following a hit and run. The alleged suspect caught just blocks away. Also,
somehow climate and the emergency that we are living in today has not been the center of campaign.
Dozens of young activists are calling on major federal party leaders to better prioritize green initiatives in the face of U.S. tariffs. They want to see climate change front and center this election. Also,
they have enough product, but they don't have enough facilities to produce the product.
What's behind a global matcha shortage and how it's impacting Vancouver businesses already struggling to keep up with skyrocketing demand. Hello, I'm Janella Hamilton. Thanks for joining us. We begin in Surrey, where a 6-year-old girl was killed after being struck by a vehicle in the Fraser Heights neighborhood this afternoon. Police say 2 other children, aged 7 and 16, were taken to the hospital with injuries, and the driver of the pickup truck that hit the children fled the scene.
We've had to deliver some very sad, unfortunate, and tragic news today. I can tell you, not only is this a family's worst nightmare, this is a police officer's worst nightmare as well.
He says the alleged suspect's truck was located less than an hour later after it hit another parked vehicle in the Newton area. The driver was subsequently arrested and remains in custody. The cause of the collision is under investigation, but Houghton says alcohol may have been a contributing factor. The intersection at 164th Street and 108th Avenue is expected to be closed for hours tonight. Drivers are being asked to avoid the area. It's been a busy weekend for North Shore Rescue after crews responded to multiple calls of seriously injured people who had slipped long distances down steep slopes at Cypress Mountain. According to the group's Facebook page, injuries include head injuries, broken bones, and internal injuries. Rescue crews are reminding those who venture outdoors to wear appropriate shoes as snowy conditions are still present and trails can be slippery. Meanwhile, a search and rescue team in Kelowna says the body of a missing person and their vehicle has been found at the bottom of Okanagan Lake after it was swept away in a massive mudslide earlier this month. Central Okanagan Search and Rescue says volunteers spent nearly 1,000 hours searching by land and water using drones, boats, and canine teams. The team says one of their dogs gave a strong indication in a specific section of Okanagan Lake, helping crews narrowed their search. The massive mudslide on April 1st pushed more than 20,000 tons of debris across a stretch of highway north of Kelowna. Days later, police received a report of a missing person who may have been driving through the area when the slide hit. The RCMP underwater recovery team has now been sent in to recover the body and the vehicle. Time is running out for leaders to try to win your vote with the federal election now entering its final 2 weeks. This Friday, advance polls open and Canadians can begin deciding who will be the next Prime Minister. JP Tasker now on the state of the race and the messaging from parties in these crucial final days.
With about 2 weeks left in this election campaign, some Canadians say they still don't know which way they'll vote.
Traditionally, I'm someone who aligns more so with the NDP on a lot of issues. But the reality of the situation is it looks like a 2-horse race at this point.
I'm undecided yet, and I'm waiting for the debate of all candidates.
Who's ready to vote for a change?
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is leaning on one word to draw more support: change.
Only a new Conservative government can bring change. We cannot afford a 4th Liberal term. Canada deserves better. Canada deserves change.
In his pitch before this week's leaders' debates, Poilievre is urging people to turn the page on the last Liberal decade, promising a laser focus on cost of living issues if elected.
Mark Carney is hiding again today in the middle of the election campaign he called.
Mark Carney has been off the campaign trail for much of the last 3 days. Part of that time spent dealing with the U.S. tariff threat in his role as Prime Minister.
Look, if the United States doesn't want to lead anymore, Canada will.
Carney is headed into the final stretch, selling himself as the leader best placed to take on Donald Trump and help stabilize a slumping Canadian economy, saying he needs a majority to do so.
We need that mandate because Canada is facing the most significant crisis of our lifetime.
The CBC News poll tracker suggests the Liberals have a 6-point lead over the Conservatives nationwide, and the NDP are in a distant third place.
If you're a Conservative supporter and you're looking at the polls, you might be pretty upset, pretty disappointed.
With time ticking down, every opportunity to reach voters is becoming more consequential.
So that means that the debates will have to shift things dramatically in a way that we haven't seen in a lot of elections.
This is a crucial week ahead. The French debate is on Wednesday, the English one is on Thursday, and the advance polls open the day after that. JP Tasker, CBC News, Ottawa.
The trade war with the U.S. and the economy have taken center stage in this election campaign, but a number of young voters say the major parties are neglecting environmental issues. As Sohrab Sandhu reports, some Vancouver activists are calling on federal party leaders to prioritize green initiatives in the face of the American tariffs.
Say no to fracking, no to LNG, no.
Oliver Gatsky is a young climate activist. He was among dozens of people rallying outside the Vancouver Art Gallery Sunday, calling on the major federal party leaders to act now to reduce climate-related emergencies. The rally, called Global Climate Strike, is one of dozens happening this week across Canada.
We represent the young people's voices in the climate space, and we want to be here for all these kinds of events where other people are coming together and momentum is building.
One social justice activist says climate action has largely been ignored in the federal election campaign so far. She wants that to change and the health of the planet prioritized.
We are in the middle of a federal election, and somehow climate and the emergency that we are living in today has not been the center of campaigns. And so we want politicians to say that they will protect the environment. We want to know their plans for how they will do so.
Demonstrators say the rally is being held in response to U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs and threats of annexation, which some say has pushed Canada to expand its dependency on fossil fuel extraction and production, a move Ottawa says will help strengthen the local economy.
The costs of climate destruction fall on taxpayers in Canada after the wildfires, after floods, after wild ice storms due to rapidly changing climate. We pay those costs.
We've devalued science, and I think that's one of the tragedy of our times.
Both the Liberals and Conservatives have focused on resource extraction projects in their election campaigns. The rally comes on the heels of an open letter written by a group of mayors from across Canada, urging the main federal parties to take climate action more seriously.
These climate events are causing us jobs as well. We're losing people from our communities. We're losing houses. We're losing jobs.
Like COIN, demonstrators in Vancouver want to see more government investment in green initiatives to fuel a healthier future. Sohrab Sandhu, CBC News, Vancouver.
As we heard, we are just days away from the only 2 federal election debates featuring all 5 major party leaders. Our Claire Palmer was in Parksville today asking voters in the Port Alberni-Courtenay riding about their top election issues as they get set to cast their ballots.
There's one topic on the mind of voters in Parksville: housing.
Thinking housing because we had a granddaughter who actually wanted to come here, but the price of housing and rentals are just ridiculous. So I think that would be number one if we want to attract more people to this area.
Oceanside area does struggle with housing, especially for the homeless. And people need healing across Canada. It's not just here, but especially on the island in this area. Healing doesn't happen until you have housing.
Affordability, but more importantly is what's it going to be like in 5 years, we'll say. And our trajectory has not been good. And I do believe that there's some very simple things we can do to get it in a better direction for younger people and everybody coming up behind us.
How tariffs affect Canadians, their jobs, their families, their futures. That's my number one worry. And of course, housing and people that don't have homes. That's number two. Yeah, there's quite a few. There's really quite a few. Too many, actually.
People, like the price of everything, and then people living on the streets. And sorry. Okay. I wish I could help people, but yeah, mostly people.
It's not the only thing on their minds, though. Many have reflected on the tone of the election and other sectors they would like to see some investment in.
I believe we would be better off for sure to unleash some of the requirements for the energy sector in order to be able to get LNG offshore, even some oil out of Alberta offshore and to the rest of the country, and really have a national interest behind making the most of our resources.
They've got a lot of promises right now. I don't know where they're going to get money for all these promises, but it's very important that they do the things they have promised.
That remains to be seen depending on what Canadians decide at the polls. Advanced voting opens at the end of this week and Election Day is April 28th. Claire Palmer, CBC News, Parksville.
Global demand for matcha is skyrocketing, but experts say Japan's limited production and declining number of tea farmers are causing supply shortages. As Leanne Yu reports, the shortage has some Vancouver businesses looking for other ways to get their hands on the popular green powder.
Elliot Graham at Superbolt Tea in Vancouver says the demand for drinks made with matcha, a Japanese green tea powder, is booming.
It's trending right now. Matcha is super trendy and everyone wants to see what the hype is about.
Markyukoi Mine was the most hyped matcha brand on TikTok this past year.
It's been popular for years, but due to recent trends on social media, the taste for matcha is at an all-time high.
Canada alone has increased from 2024 to 2023 160% in how much we're buying from Japan on matcha alone.
That growing interest driving a shortage in Japan.
They have enough product, but they don't have enough facilities to produce the product.
The prices are really upcharged online.
Some Vancouver cafe owners and suppliers are having to find ways around the shortage and rising costs by directly sourcing from matcha farms.
My whole family is based in Japan, so we're able to secure sort of like a consistent supply of matcha. But I would say like a lot of the other local businesses here are struggling because they rely on like a key wholesaler. This is our 90 grade of matcha, which is the highest quality that you can get.
He says more consumers want what's marketed as ceremonial matcha, which takes Japanese tea makers the longest to process. Kimi Zhao, who sells the Japanese powder online through her cafe Whisk Matcha, says she's seen a drastic change in customer behavior in response to the shortage.
I know a lot of people try to hoard the matcha at the moment. They're just afraid that it will be out of stock one day.
She hopes consumers don't start panic buying matcha and is advising people to only buy what they will use in the near future.
Because matcha, it needs to be fresh. So if you hoard it, if you have it for like a year, it's not going to taste as good.
I think just people are going to have to become a bit more resourceful in sourcing out the matcha, being open to different types of matcha and also different types of teas.
Experts recommend trying slightly lower grades of matcha, which can be just as beneficial for your health as the top tier. Leanne Yu, CBC News, Vancouver.
The Jewish community marked the first night of Passover last night. This is the second Passover since the Hamas-led attack in 2023 that sparked the war in Gaza. The sacred holiday starts with a ritual meal known as the Seder. Members of Vancouver's Jewish community say this year they're setting aside an extra chair for the hostages that have yet to return home.
We relive through the Passover story not only the present circumstance of the Jewish people and our hostages that are in Gaza today, and we set aside a separate chair at our Seder an empty chair for recognition of the hostages that are still in captivity, but also to look at it through the lens of history to see that our people have suffered before and have come out and not only survived but thrived.
Moskovitz says Passover is an 8-day holiday outside Israel. It celebrates the Jewish people's freedom from the Pharaoh of Egypt over 3,000 years ago. In January, a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas led to the return of some hostages, but Israel resumed attacks on Gaza last month after the two sides failed to agree on the extension of the truce. After the break, more uncertainty ahead as Donald Trump's team spends the weekend talking about new changes to his tariff plan. That's next. Stay with us. Confusion reigns in Washington over Donald Trump's trade reform. Just after announcing some electronics would be exempt from tariffs, that policy is set to change. The CBC's Katie Simpson reports.
The U.S. president spending another weekend at his golf club as his trade war tactics shift yet again. Electronics exempted from some tariffs Friday, the White House says are expected to be hit by new tariffs targeting the whole electronic supply chain.
I'm going to be announcing it over the next week.
On board Air Force One, Donald Trump offered more mixed messaging, suggesting he's open to offering exemptions for some products.
You have to show a certain flexibility. Nobody should be so rigid. You have to have a certain flexibility.
Trump's tariff plan is growing more complicated and confusing with each twist and turn. Remember the country-specific tariffs that were implemented, paused, and replaced with a 10% baseline tariff? The White House says they've prompted even more world leaders to seek trade talks.
130 countries have responded, and we're negotiating with them.
So this is unfolding exactly like we thought it would, knowing full well that a lot of countries would come right to us and want a bargain. We've got 90 deals in 90 days possibly pending here.
The way Trump is executing his plan is under attack by his political opponents.
Investors will not invest in the United States when Donald Trump is playing red light, green light with tariffs.
Senator Bernie Sanders!
And Trump was mocked by Bernie Sanders when the senator made a surprise appearance at the Coachella Music Festival.
Now we got a president of the United States who... I agree.
But contrast this moment with another from the same night. Trump arriving to huge applause and a standing ovation by thousands at Saturday's UFC fight. Animated crowds at these very different events, highlighting the divisions in this country. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
Here we have a live shot of Georgia Street in downtown Vancouver tonight. I'll have your full forecast next.
I'm Stephen Quinn, and I love living here in Vancouver, BC. It's a city with world-renowned beauty, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. In our new daily podcast, This is Vancouver, we're exploring the diverse range of issues and stories in the city, the good, the bad, and everything in between, as told by the people who live it every day. Don't miss This is Vancouver, available wherever you get your podcasts, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, it is time now to take a look at our weather for the week ahead. Let's begin with a quick peek at the current temperatures around the province tonight. A bit of snow action in Dease Lake with 1 is your overnight low. Heading into Fort St. John, 4, and similar conditions in Prince George overnight. In Kelowna, 3 is your low, and on the island in both Tofino and Victoria sitting about a 6. Heading into tomorrow, rain is going to be in the forecast for Dease Lake, Terrace, and Bella Coola. Heading into Fort St. John, 13 degrees with a mix of sun and clouds. Much warmer temperatures in Kamloops and Kelowna with a high of 17. And on the island, nice and sunny in Victoria with a high of 14. A little more overcast in Tofino. Here in Metro Vancouver, similar conditions for us as the island. 13 degrees here for our Monday, and that sun is going to stick around for the remainder of our week with an 18 possibly on Friday. Well, they say one person's trash is another's treasure, and Katie Grant takes that to heart. In her Vancouver West End apartment, she's building a hub of generosity, one box at a time. Our Shivani Joshi visits her at home to find out how she does it and who she's helping.
Tight.
There's barely any room to walk around Katie Grant's West End apartment. Boxes of clothes, dishes, toiletries are stacked from floor to ceiling. It may look chaotic, but every pile has a purpose.
People that are purging, downsizing, moving, they have to get rid of stuff. They don't want to throw it in the trash bins because for them it's just wasteful.
And that's where Grant comes in. She calls it donation collection, pairing the things people no longer need with those who truly do. Most of the donations come from strangers who find Grant through local Facebook groups.
I have dishes, I have clothing, I have kitchen, I have. Can you help me find a place for them? And I started doing that, and it became a massive project.
A massive project done entirely on her own time and her own dime, on top of working a full-time job.
I work a regular job, and then this project, as I'm calling it, is about 50 or 60 hours per week. So it's like a job and a half. And I have no funding for this. When I get overloaded with stuff and I have no place to put it, it goes in the bathroom.
It's exhausting, overwhelming, and expensive. But for Grant, it's not about what she gives. It's about what she once received.
A couple decades ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. And during my treatment, strangers helped me. And because of that, I started volunteering with them. And I felt it gave me a purpose versus woe is me.
She's made it her mission to pay that kindness forward, one box at a time.
When I bring something to an organization, they always tell me that you have no idea how much this helps us, because the people on the streets, who they're usually servicing, have little to nothing.
She expects nothing in return.
That's enough. I can't expect more, and I don't expect more. It's just that somebody appreciated whatever I can do for them.
Katie Grant's home overflowing not with clutter, but with care. Shivani Joshi, CBC News, Vancouver.
That is your late news for this Sunday, April 13th. Thanks so much for watching. To keep up to date with all the latest news, visit our website at cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1. That starts tomorrow morning at 5:30. Hope you have a great start to your week.